coming in and out of the port of Virginia. Black and white vessel Freedom Elite, tied up alongside the wall at Town Point Park, is available for private charter only. A vessel operated by City Cruises. Larger black and white vessel in view to our port side now is the Spirit of Norfolk, which offers lunch and dinner cruises. And that vessel also operated by City Cruises. You'll see a two-story building with a large gray roof and the word Waterside on the roof in view now on our port side. That is Waterside District, which features bars, restaurants, and entertainment venues. The building originally opened back in 1983, first known as Waterside Festival Marketplace. It's been a popular entertainment spot in Norfolk for decades. Out in front of the Waterside building is Waterside Municipal Marina, popular stopping point for vessels visiting the downtown area. Docked along the outside wall of the marina, the green and white sailing vessel that you see is the American Rover, three-masted topsail schooner, which offers sailing excursions out into Hampton Roads Harbor. You'll also see a blue and white paddle wheel vessel tied up at the marina ahead of us to our port bow. That is one of the Elizabeth River ferries. Ferries offer passenger service between Norfolk and Portsmouth every half an hour, and a ride across the river on board the ferry costs just $2. The tall brown building on the Norfolk waterfront to our port bow is Dominion Tower, which stands at 27 stories. This is the tallest building on the Inner Harbor and one of the tallest buildings in southeastern Virginia. The bridge to our port bow is the Berkeley Bascule Bridge. It is a drawbridge spanning the eastern branch of the Elizabeth River. Located down the eastern branch are several private shipyards, as well as Norfolk's Harbor Park. Harbor Park is home to the Norfolk Tides Baseball Club, the AAA farm team of the Baltimore Orioles. And coming into view next on our port side is the first of several shipyards we'll pass during the tour. The yard ahead of us to our port bow is the General Dynamics Corporation shipyard here in Norfolk. They're repairing 3 naval warships currently. The large gray flat top that you'll see to our port side is LHD number 5, the USS Baton. Baton is a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship, 844 feet in length, 140 feet wide at the flight deck. That ship will carry a crew of just under 1,300. She'll transport more than 1,800 Marines. She'll be equipped with 40 helicopters, as well as landing craft, hovercraft, Harrier jump jets, Osprey aircraft, and a 600-bed hospital on board. Ship number 51 is the USS Oak Hill. She's a Whidbey Island class amphibious assault ship. We'll see a few more of those out of Naval Station Norfolk and go into more details about that class of warship shortly. The gray and white barge that you'll see to our port side is a barracks barge. These are used as temporary floating housing and office space for ships which are undergoing repair service. And coming into view next on our port side is ship number 78. This is the USS Porter. Porter is a Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer. You'll see quite a few of those at Naval Station Norfolk. The Porter is currently high and dry out of the water, located within the floating dry dock, Speedy. You'll see the black and gray walls of the floating dry dock on either side of the ship. The way the floating dry dock works, the walls and bottom of the dry dock are hollow and be flooded with water. That'll cause the dry dock to sink down into the river. When the dry dock is submerged, the ship is then carefully maneuvered over top of it. And when that vessel is in the correct position, over top of keel blocks laid along the floor of the dry dock, at that point, the walls and bottom of the dry dock are pumped free of water, which will lift the ship out so that bottom side repair can be done. Another barracks barge tied up alongside the floating dry dock inshore to our port side. Also inshore to our port side is the Old Virginia Shipyard, home to a couple of tugboat companies. Black, white, and blue tugs that you'll see to our port side belong to the Vulcan Materials Company. Vulcan tugs are most often used to move sand and gravel barges around the harbor. Sand and gravel carried in those barges is used to make concrete. To our port bow is another ship repair facility. This is BAE Systems Shipyard. BAE is the largest privately owned ship repair facility on the south side of Hampton Roads. This yard repairs primarily naval vessels. The blue and white ship Cape Arundel to our port bow is a former commercial automobile carrier. That vessel was acquired by the U.S. government about a decade ago. She's been converted to carry military vehicles and equipment. The ship is now part of the nation's ready reserve fleet. The Cape Arundel is currently high and dry out of the water within the floating dry dock Titan. Titan is one of the world's largest floating dry docks, more than 880 feet in length with a lifting capacity of well over 60,000 tons. The large gray flat top that you'll see tied up at BAE is LHD number 1. This is the USS Wasp. Wasp is the lead ship of her class, and she is a sister ship to the
Baton.
Excuse me, she is a sister ship to the Baton that we passed just a few minutes ago.
You forgot already. You forgot
The body
already.
of water coming into view to our port side at this time is the southern branch of the Elizabeth River. Southern branch is the entrance to the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway. It is a system of rivers, lakes, bays, sounds, and canals, which are all interconnected together and stretch from here all the way to Miami, Florida, which is nearly 1,100 miles to our south. Vessels of less than 65 feet in height, 8 feet in draft, are able to travel in the intercoastal all the way to Miami without having to enter the Atlantic Ocean. And taking a look down the southern branch, about a half mile from our position on the right bank of the river, you'll see a large green crane on shore. Adjacent to that crane are several three-story brick buildings. Those brick buildings mark the beginnings of the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. The Norfolk Naval Shipyard is the nation's oldest shipyard. This yard was originally opened by a British company in the mid-1760s. The yard was originally known as the Gosport Navy Yard. This shipyard's been operated by the British, the United States, the Confederate States of America, and now the United States Navy operates the yard. They no longer build ships here. Only ship repair is performed there at this shipyard nowadays. The yard is quite historic. Not only the first shipyard in the nation, it was also at this yard during the Civil War that the Confederate States of America outfitted the ship Merrimack into the ironclad vessel CSS Virginia. It was also at this yard where the Navy's first cruiser, first battleship, and first aircraft carrier were all built. The Norfolk Naval Shipyard is located in Portsmouth, Virginia. When the name of the yard was changed from the Gosport Yard to the Norfolk Naval Shipyard, the property was then located in Norfolk County. And the green crane that you see down the way is called the Hammerhead crane, which was used to install gun turrets onto the decks of battleships that were built at this yard between the First and Second World Wars. And as we make our turn, coming into view to our port side is the waterfront of Portsmouth, Virginia. You'll see the American flag flying above Portsmouth's High Street Landing to our port side. High Street Landing is one of the stops for the Elizabeth River ferries here in Portsmouth, and High Street Landing is situated at the base of High Street. And High Street is the primary street of a very nice section of Portsmouth known as Old Town. Within Old Town Portsmouth are shops, restaurants, museums, and old homes and churches. Many of the homes and churches within Old Town were built during the 17 and early 1800s. You'll see a red and white vessel with the word Portsmouth painted along the side coming into view now on our port side. That is the lightship Portsmouth. Lightships like this one were used in the past to mark entrances to harbors and channels, as well as warn mariners of dangerous shoals and other hazards. All the lightships have been removed from service, most of them cut up for scrap metal. Portsmouth now serves as a lightship museum here in Old Town. The tall gray building to our port side is the Renaissance Hotel, which offers more than 400 rooms and suites, each of which have a waterfront view. And coming into view next on our port side is North Landing here in Portsmouth, another stop for the Elizabeth River ferries. And just beyond North Landing, you'll see a tall tan building. That building is called the Harbor Tower Apartments. The building stands at 24 stories, making it the second tallest building on the Inner Harbor. And you may want to keep that building in mind once we reach the naval base, because the height of that building is approximately the same height as a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier. That is from the very bottom of the ship's keel to the top of the ship's superstructure. Once again, the building to our port side stands at 24 stories.
I was the boiler tech, that's why it looked like that. They trusted me with the keys one time, that was it. I went like this, and I was done. Yeah. You know how it's like, we were all drunk. Yeah,
to our port side, you'll see Tidewater Yacht Marina, full-service marina here in Portsmouth, which offers slips, fuel, and repair service. It's also a seafood restaurant called Fish and Slips in the middle of that marina. And that restaurant is open to the public. Coming into view beyond the Tidewater Yacht Marina, you'll see a body of water with a few boats anchored to our port side. That is Crawford Cove. Crawford Cove is named for Colonel William Crawford, who founded the city of Portsmouth back in 1752. During the colonial era, Crawford Cove was an anchoring ground for ships calling here in the harbor. Nowadays, most of the vessels which choose to anchor there are traveling along the Atlantic Intracoastal Waterway. Beyond Crawford Cove, the wooded point of land that you'll see is Hospital Point. Hospital Point is home to the United States Navy's Regional Medical Center of Portsmouth, Virginia, formerly known as the Portsmouth Naval Hospital. Looking through the trees, you'll see a white building with a green dome roof. That is the original construction of the hospital, which opened back in 1832. Since that time, the hospital has never closed its doors or refused to care for any patient, and that is significant to see that the hospital changed hands several times during the Civil War. Also, since 1832, this hospital has been added to a few times. You'll see some of the new phases of the hospital to our port side. The tall brick building opened in 1960. The brick buildings with the green roofs have been in operation since the early part of the 2000s, and all the phases of the facility together make this the world's largest military medical installation. The original building of the hospital is still in use nowadays. It's no longer used for any type of medical procedures, but the facility used for office space. The original operating room of the hospital is located just beneath that green dome. The very top of the dome itself is glass, which allowed sunlight into the operating room so surgeries could be done. Looking back to our starboard side, get another good look at the downtown Norfolk waterfront. On the point of Town Point Park, you'll see a brick structure with a single flagpole. That is Norfolk's Armed Forces Memorial. Scattered around this memorial are bronze reproductions of letters written by soldiers who lost their lives fighting in every war the U.S. has been involved in. Beyond Town Point is Nauticus, a visitor center featuring many interactive exhibits on different facets of maritime life, both military and commercial. On the second floor of the building is the Hampton Roads Naval Museum. And built on the Nauticus International Pier is the Half Moon Cruise Ship Terminal. Cruise ships are able to pull into the pier here to load and unload passengers, primarily for cruises to the Caribbean. Tomorrow, the Carnival Sunrise will make her weekly stop here at the cruise ship terminal, dropping off a load of about 3,500 in the morning, taking on another load of 3,500 passengers tomorrow afternoon before departing around 5 for a 7-day cruise to the Caribbean. Docked on the inside wall of the pier, you'll see a 2-masted black-hulled sailing vessel. That is the schooner Virginia, built about 20 years ago here in Norfolk to serve as an ambassadorship and sail training vessel for the state. And coming into view now on our starboard side, warship number 64. Number 64 is the battleship Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the last and the largest of the 4 Iowa-class battleships which were built during World War II. Battleship Wisconsin was built between 1943 and 1944 at the Philadelphia Navy Shipyard. Wisconsin, commissioned on the 16th of April, 1944. She served her first service fighting the Japanese in the Pacific during World War II. Battleship Wisconsin is quite large, 888 feet in length, 109 feet wide, and she weighs in at more than 60,000 tons when fully loaded. The dimensions of the ship are very specific. Back in 1944, the Wisconsin needed to travel through the locks of the Panama Canal, making her way to the Pacific Ocean. Back then, the locks of the Panama Canal were 1,000 feet in length, easily accommodating the length of the ship. However, those locks were only 110 feet wide, leaving about 6 inches of clearance on either side of the ship. Primary weapons aboard the Wisconsin are 9 16-inch guns the ship carries. There are 3 guns per turret, 2 turrets forward of the ship's superstructure, and 1 turret aft. Each of the 16-inch guns can fire a 2,700-pound projectile, a distance of more than 20 nautical miles with pinpoint accuracy. 16-inch guns are the largest ballistic guns ever deployed aboard a U.S. ship, and they are the most accurate guns ever deployed on any vessel. The battleship also carries 12 smaller guns, which are 5-inch, 38 caliber guns, 2 per mount, 3 mounts on either side of the ship. And during the Second World War, the battleship also carried well over 100 anti-aircraft guns. The ship not only served the U.S. during World War II, but also the Korean War and Operation Desert Storm. Throughout the long career of the ship, Wisconsin was equipped with newer, more advanced weaponry, including 4 phalanx close-in weapon systems, Harpoon anti-ship missiles, and Tomahawk cruise missiles. The ship is now fully decommissioned and permanently moored here at Nauticus, and the ship is open to visitors as part of the admission to the Nauticus Center. At this time, we are going to continue heading outbound on the Elizabeth River. As we make our way outbound, we will be taking the same route which ships take to open sea. It's about 25 miles to sea by water from the downtown area. And as we head outbound, the city of Portsmouth will be on our port side, Norfolk to our starboard. To our starboard side at this time, you'll see a complex of white buildings with blue trim and the letters NOAA on the side of the building. That is the Atlantic Command Center of NOAA. NOAA stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. NOAA is responsible for producing navigation charts. They also monitor the nation's fisheries and serve as the National Weather Service. You'll see the NOAA ship Pisces docked at the pier. She's used for a variety of oceanographic research. Small bridge inshore to our starboard side is the Brambleton Avenue Bridge. That bridge spans Smith Creek. Inshore of the bridge, very nice section of Norfolk known as Ghent. Ghent is home to one of the nation's finest collections of Victorian homes. Many of the homes were built around the turn of the 19th century by sea captains choosing Norfolk as a place to retire. Also located in the Ghent neighborhood is the Chrysler Museum of Art. The gray building on the point of land to our starboard side is called the Pier Condominiums. That building was originally constructed as a cotton storage warehouse towards the end of the 1800s. About 40 years ago, during Norfolk's downtown redevelopment, the unused warehouse was converted into the condos that you'll see there now. And that is a popular trend to do in many seaport cities, to convert unused warehouses into prime residential and business real estate.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Probably about a $2,800 a month in mortgage.
Looking back to our port side, you'll see some more of the Portsmouth Naval Hospital Complex. You'll also see a branch of the river called Scotts Creek stretching off into the city of Portsmouth. At the mouth of Scotts Creek, ahead of us to our port bow, is a small shipyard, also operated by General Dynamics. You'll see 4 gray vessels docked there. The first 3 ships are identical, and these ships are stored here. These are the Cape Race, the Cape Rise, and the Cape Ray. These 3 vessels are part of the nation's ready reserve fleet. They'd be used to transport military vehicles and equipment during a time of war or national emergency. And these vessels are known as Ro-Ro ships. Ro-Ro stands for roll on, roll off. There are large ramps in the stern of each of those vessels. Those ramps can be folded down to a pier, allowing vehicles and equipment to be quickly and easily rolled on and off. And those ships can be loaded and ready for sea in less than 10 days if necessary. Ship number 95 is the USS James E. Williams under repair here. And she is another Arleigh Burke class guided missile destroyer. Looking back to our starboard side, the 2 small gray vessels that you'll see tied up here are former U.S. Navy Yard Patrol vessels. The Navy no longer uses these types of vessels in any capacity. The tall brick building on the Norfolk waterfront to our starboard side is the Harbor's Edge Retirement Condominium Complex. And the white office building with the American flag out in front is the Waterfield building. Originally built as a solar-powered building during the 1970s energy crisis. This building is the district headquarters of the Army Corps of Engineers. The Army Corps of Engineers is responsible for maintaining the waterways here in the harbor. They monitor the depths of the channels, arrange for the dredging of channels here, and remove any debris which may become a navigational hazard. As we make our way past the Waterfield building, coming into view just beyond it to our starboard side, you'll see a white wall with a couple of cannons out in front and some white buildings beyond the wall. That is Fort Norfolk. Fort Norfolk was built here shortly after the Revolutionary War by orders of General George Washington. Before Fort Norfolk was built during the Revolution, British ships were able to sail past this undefended point into the inner harbor and bombard Norfolk, nearly destroying the entire city. To keep that from happening again, Fort Norfolk placed here as a strategic defense point. And after the fort was built, it was never used in combat. That's because no invading force ever made it this far up the Elizabeth River after the Revolution, so Fort Norfolk never saw any action. Looking out to our starboard side, the distance, beyond this crane barge, you'll see a couple of brick buildings with large brown doors and some ventilation on the roofs. Those buildings are the ventilation houses of the Portsmouth-Norfolk Midtown Tunnels. Midtown Tunnels pass underneath the river here in about 40 feet of water, coming back up on the Portsmouth side to our left. You'll see a couple of other brick buildings inshore there. We'll pass over the tunnels and the traffic traveling through them in a moment. On our port side is Portsmouth Marine Terminal, or PMT for short. PMT was once a very busy containerized cargo handling facility. The terminal now being used as a staging area for a very large construction project. That project is building a wind farm off the coast of Virginia. The wind farm will consist of more than 170 electric producing windmills. You'll see some of the windmill components out on the tarmac. The yellow structures standing upright are called transitions. Transitions are placed upon the monopile foundations. The last load of monopile foundations was taken to the wind farm a couple of days ago. You'll see the gray towers in the distance. Those are the windmill towers. Those are placed on top of the transitions. The windmill towers are transported to the wind farm, standing up with the windmill blades in place on top of the rotor that goes on the very top of the tower. The orange and white vessel to our starboard side is the Albertine being stored here. She is a former commercial container ship. She was acquired by the U.S. government a few years ago. Ship being converted to carry military equipment and cargo. She'll be placed into the nation's ready reserve fleet. And looking to our starboard side, the pier with the American flag on the end is Marine Hydraulics International Shipyard, known as MHI for short. This yard repairs primarily naval vessels. They're working on 2 of the Navy's San Antonio class amphibious assault ships currently. These ships are known as landing platform docks, or LPDs for short, 688 feet in length, 108 feet wide. Each of these vessels will carry a crew of 400, and each of them can transport 800 Marines. They'll carry helicopters,
but they do helicopters with
Osprey
Marines,
aircraft, as well as a variety of landing craft, hovercraft.
They basically take off
Ship
with a
number
bunch of Marines.
21 on the south
when you
side
gotta get the Marines to the beach,
USS New York.
not like
most of the ships
they'll have
of this class are named
light
for
cushion
US
aircraft.
cities.
It basically looks like
New York is named in honor of the
kind of looks like
victims who lost their
tank in
lives
the
New
water,
York City on
and the big
September
fans in the back,
11th.
and they'll carry Marines on that to the beach and land on the beach.
Steel,
But they'll also bring them over on Osprey and helicopters too. If it's in, say, an inland jungle area.
On the north side of the pier, ship number 19 is the USS Mesa Verde.
Most of the time when you have a ship that proceeds by L,
the next couple of piers that will pass to our starboard side are the former Lambert's Point General Cargo Terminals. General cargo referring to any type of cargo that is not stored and shipped in containers. These piers were leased to a company called Fair Winds Landing a few years ago. Fair Winds is primarily concerned with building, maintaining, and supplying the offshore wind farm. They also used some of the pier space to store some vessels. 2 gray vessels on the corner of the
There's
pier
another
to our
ship that was
starboard
never
side,
used.
U.S. Naval Ship Brunswick, and number 13, the U.S. Naval Ship Apalachicola. These vessels are Spearhead class fast transport ships. They'd be used to transport military personnel and equipment at high speed. These all aluminum lightweight vessels are capable of speeds in excess of 40 knots. These ships are 340 feet in length and almost 100 feet wide. And they are operated by the Military Sealift Command, or MSC. MSC ships are owned by the Navy, operated for the Navy by civilian merchant marine crews. See another couple of MSC ships to our starboard side being stored here. The U.S. Naval Ship Charlton, wrapped up alongside the U.S. Naval Ship Soderman. These 2 vessels are large, medium-speed, roll-on, roll-off ships. They are 950 feet in length, 115 feet wide. These vessels will be used to transport all types of military vehicles, equipment, cargo, and supplies for any branch of the military that may need them. Not a lot of wind farm vessels docked at Fair Winds Landing currently. The blue and white barge that you'll see over to our starboard side on the south side of Pier N, that is the Prismian Ulysses. And that vessel is used to install very large electric cable. You'll see the spool of subsea cable in the middle of the barge. Cable is used to run between windmills and substations offshore. And on the north side of Pier N, another orange and white former commercial container ship that is now part of the reserve fleet. Out to our port side, you'll see the western branch of the Elizabeth River spanned in the distance by the Western Norfolk Bridge. Western branch stretches off into the cities of Portsmouth and Chesapeake, and it dead ends about 8 miles inland. To our port bow, you'll see a facility with piers, pilings, and a couple of white buildings. That is the United States Navy's magnetic silencing facility. The Navy uses that facility to demagnetize the hulls of warships. That process is done by bringing a ship in between the piers. These piers face magnetically north and south. Once the ship is docked, the entire vessel is then wrapped in electric cable. One cable every 3 to 5 feet or so. Once the ship is wrapped in cable, alternating current then sent through that cable until the ship has no more magnetic signature. The process of demagnetizing the vessel is done after a ship has been newly constructed or gone through a major overhaul where a lot of steel is welded together. The process of demagnetizing a ship is done for a couple of important reasons. First of all, it will reduce a ship's vulnerability to detonating magnetic mines. It will also reduce any interference with sensitive equipment aboard a ship, like the vessel's compass and weapons guidance systems. Off in the distance to our port bow, you'll see a facility with 1 ship and quite a few blue cranes. That is Virginia International Gateway, or VIG for short. VIG is the newest container terminal in the port. The terminal opened in 2007. The cranes that operate at VIG are Suez-class container cranes. They are the largest class of container crane in the world. These cranes are able to handle the world's largest ships. Largest ships in the world nowadays are container vessels of more than 1,300 feet in length. Vessels that size able to transport more than 20,000 containers at once. Keep in mind, the containers that are carried aboard these ships are the same boxes you'll see towed by tractor trailers along the nation's highways.